Good afternoon, everybody. It is Sunday here in Midtown Manhattan, and tonight we are going to be talking about the S&P 500 earnings forecast for next year, as well as GDP growth forecast for next year. And to start it off, the IHS market forecasts GDP growth for 2022 to come in right at about 4.3%. This is going to be down a little bit from the estimated 5.6% in 2021. But I think it's important that we understand that the 2021 had a little bit of a booster start because 2020, we were crushed by the pandemic. So we'll talk about that and more today on the stream. I see Two Wheel Pines here. I see the ABX girl. How are you? Andrew Lee is joining us from Queens. Tyson Hoakley is here. Santa Monica Rodriguez, good to see you. Tyrese says hi, Tom. Shadow King is here. NNB 045 says hi, Tom. Hope you had a great day. Vinny Castellano is here. Sanjeev is here. Dallas is here. Sally is here as well. GJ says, hey, Tom, how are you doing? I'm doing very, very well. Jonathan Richards is here. Says happy 2022, Tom. And the one and only Maria O is joining as well as we look at the beautiful Empire State Building. So we will get started. We're going to be walking to the Hudson Yards tonight. But right now we are at the brand new Moynihan train station on the corner of 8th Avenue and 33rd Street. Hey, I see Alan Wilson here. What's up, Alan? Good to see you. Sally is here. Hey, Sally. Charlie Richardson is here. Says hi, Tom. How are you, Charlie? Happy Sunday. Mike says good evening, everybody. Bridget Ortiz is here. Neil, the one and only Solo 401 and 48 says hi, Tom. Hope you are well. Hi, Revis is here too. What's up, bye, Revis? Good to see you. And Maria O, long time no see. Joshua Lopez, hey, Tom. Nice night tonight. So I will say it was about 50 degrees all day today in Manhattan, but now it is absolutely freezing. I think it's supposed to snow tomorrow, maybe, perhaps, so we will see. But tomorrow is the first official trading day for the stock markets. Hopefully we start the year off with a bang. And I hope everybody's doing well. We are right here on 34th Street. And tonight we will be walking to the Hudson Yards, and then we will head uptown to Park Avenue, checking out the Seagram building. Solo 401 says we may get a dusting to an inch tomorrow. That would look pretty cool, actually. That may look actually pretty cool. Hey, Maria O says, yes, new job has been keeping me busy. I've moved into a tech company and I'm happy. Wow, Maria O, congratulations. That is awesome. Yeah, a lot of people have been moving around, changing jobs, and I think that's the right thing to do, especially in this environment. 9 times out of 10, if you make the move to change careers, go to a new company, you're probably going to get rewarded with a nice salary increase. Hey, Asia Unscripted is here. Says good evening. What's up, Asia Unscripted? Good to see you. And we have Dante Rose here. Says hey, Tom. 48 says you have cold weather and I have hot weather. Look at all the taxi cabs lined out outside the Madison Square Garden. Ton of them tonight. Hey, Ruby Falcone is here. Says good Sunday evening. Good Sunday evening to you too. Sabrina Fair is joining us. How are you, Sabrina? But Maria, oh, congratulations on your new job. That's awesome. Joshua Lopez is here. Says, hello, Tom. Nice night. Beautiful night. Alex says, hi, Tom. Have you ever tried Magnolia Bakery? So I have. It's pretty good. 2 thumbs up. The ABX girl says, getting ready for the storm. No alternative side parking tomorrow. Is it really going to be a big storm? I don't think so. But I actually hope so. That would kind of look cool before we head back to Miami. I'll show everybody the front of the Moynihan train hall, the brand new one. Wow, Solo 401 says I changed jobs, $9 an hour more and 15 hours of overtime. Awesome, Solo. That's awesome, man. Good for you. I love hearing stories like that. Hey, Brooklyn Girl is here. Says, hey, Tom. What's up, Brooklyn Girl? TPR says, you're so close to my favorite pizza place. What street is that on? Is that on, I'm trying to think of which one that is. NMB 045 says, hopefully your flight doesn't get canceled. That is a good point. So NMB 045, when I flew into John F. Kennedy Airport, I believe I was the only flight that was not delayed or canceled. And I flew in on Christmas Eve, and almost every other flight was canceled or delayed, which was kind of crazy. Hey, we have Fresh Start here. What's up, Fresh Start? Good to see you. We are making our way towards the Hudson Yards tonight. Disney Matt says, what is the best neighborhood in Manhattan and why? I would probably have to say the Upper West Side, because it's not as crazy as Midtown. More residential, and in my opinion, it has the best restaurants. So I would probably classify the Upper West Side anywhere between Lincoln Center, which is right around 66th Street, and 96th Street. It's probably the best locations to live. Hey, Luke Williams is here. Says, hi, Tom. How correct have annual market forecasts been over time? Seems like a difficult thing to predict. Well, here's something that's funny. There's an actual funny joke around Wall Street that says the only people that can be wrong time and time again and keep their jobs are economists and weather forecasters. Because it's very hard to predict. But that is what we're going to be talking about tonight on the stream. Because by and large, hold on, let me show you guys the view of the Moynihan train station and MSG in the background. In layman's terms, we could conclusively say that stock prices will follow the trajectory of earnings over time. Hey, Frank Gonzalez says, hi, Tom. Planning on streaming tomorrow night. You might get some snow. That's what we've been hearing. Sunshine After Rain is here. Good evening, Sunshine After Rain. And GG NYC, how are you? Good to see you. The ABX girl says, the new mayor, Eric Adams, has a press conference with the DSNY tonight. That should be interesting. Heartland Explorer says, hi, Tom. How you doing tonight? Doing very well. And Al J is here. Says, hi, Tom and everybody. What's up, Al J? Oh, Maria. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. So long as GDP growth is intact, markets should continue higher over time. And the GDP forecast for next year, 2022, GDP, or gross domestic product, is expected to increase about 4.3%. However, in 2021, GDP, we had 5.6% GDP growth in the United States, if I'm not mistaken. But one thing I would like to sort of throw out there is that in 2020, everybody knows we were struggling with the coronavirus pandemic. So all of the statistics and economic metrics that came out in 2021 extremely improved, were, to say the least, easy to beat. Wow, Sabrina Fair says it's 77 degrees in Miami right now. And excuse the wind noise, everybody. We still don't have a mic. Hopefully we will be getting one soon. I actually do have a mic, but I need the adapter. Sarah G is here. Hey, Flex Stream is here. Good evening, Flex Stream. Good to see you. Bitsmag TV says, good evening, everybody. Good evening. GGNYC, hope your 2022 is off to a great start. Dylan says hi from Ireland. Welcome. Edson, how are you? Good to see you. Hunter Butler, the one and only, is here. Fresh start. We can look at the World Trade Center tonight. Very windy night in Manhattan. Hey, Nice Guy is here. What's up, Nice Guy? And Cool Aunt 516 says, hello, Tom. How are you? Hello, hello. Sarah G says, I am so excited for 2022. Hope everybody is doing well. I am very optimistic for 2022. It's going to be a great year. I think this is going to be the first year that is fully normalized from the pandemic. Nice Guy says, Happy New Year, Tom. Happy New Year. Atomic Skittles says, hey, Tom, are you walking down to the Soho area tonight? So we may do that tomorrow. I think that's a good idea. Sarah G says we better get a higher GDP for this year. Well, almost every economist is forecasting GDP growth, but a little bit slower growth than last year. Ooh, guys, check out this view of the Empire from here. Very beautiful. Root Santos says, hi, Brazil. Have a good walk. Thank you. GGNYC says, so far, so good, Tom. Hope 2022 will be even more successful for you. Right back at you. Trippin' Music is here. Says, hello, mate. Gerald says, have I ever been to Vegas? Yeah, I actually just got back from Vegas over the holidays. I was there for about 24 hours for a client party. Ann says, Happy New Year to you all. What's up, Ann? Good to see you. So check out these earnings estimates for the S&P. So S&P 500 earnings are expected to grow 9% this year in 2022. And if we look at the 5-year average, or excuse me, the 10-year average, the 10-year average for earnings growth in the S&P is actually 5%. So it seems like we're actually going to have a pretty good year in terms of S&P 500 companies growing their earnings. The 10-year average, or on average over the past 10 years, S&P 500 companies grow their earnings at about 5% per annum. This year we're looking at a 9% growth. But check this out. This is pretty unbelievable statistic here. In 2021, S&P 500 companies grew their earnings by 45%. That's right. In 2021, S&P 500 companies grew their earnings by 45%, but looks can be a little bit deceiving because in 2020, earnings fell off a cliff for obvious reasons due to the pandemic and global lockdowns that have swept across the globe. So 2021 earnings growing at almost 50% is to be expected when you're comparing it to 2020. Yeah, Sabrina Fair says Peloton building is coming up. So I wonder how long they're going to have this Citrovia up. Looks like it's decked out in ice and snow. Kevin Lee is here, says good evening. It's 8:54 p.m. from Atlantic Avenue, Barclays Center, Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn, Academy of Music, New York City. What's up, Kevin Lee? XOXX Bob says, wasn't it raining last night in Manhattan? It was pouring raining last night on the stream. Joey says, hi Tom, Happy New Year. You ready for tomorrow? I'm ready. I'm definitely ready. That is right, back to work tomorrow. Everybody pretty much goes back to work tomorrow. Jake Gans says, if they're putting slat on the ground for snow today, must be something coming. Yeah, salt, says Jake. Usually they salt the roads. Usually sanitation does that. I'm actually not Yeah, so we are talking about the earnings growth. So if you're talking about price appreciation, I believe last year, 7%. But this statistic that we were talking about is the S&P earnings growth. So earnings for S&P 500 companies are expected to grow 9% in 2022. The returns of the S&P in terms of capital appreciation or price appreciation of the actual indice, you would be correct. Check out this bar here. Looks kind of cool with all the different bottles. I'm not a big drinker. I don't drink alcohol, but I do have a very good appreciation for these beautiful bottles here. What do you guys think? Hey, Fabio's here. Says, have a good night from Brazil. Good to see you, Fabio. Have a good night. Sabrina Fair says, I don't want to go back to work tomorrow. Boo, so stressful. Mike C says, it's funny how I know parts of New York City more than I know parts of my own country. Well, Mark, I mean, I guess the positive thing is if you ever come to New York, you won't be lost. San Miguel says that's way too much booze, or whatever you call it. It is windy. Hey, 48 says, I love the look of the bottles too, Tom. Yeah, inside this restaurant is beautiful. You see it, guys? Check it out. A lot of brand new modern restaurants here at the Hudson Yards. I believe this is called the Zamboni, isn't it? Hey, Judy D is here. think we may be buffering a little bit. Yeah, we always seem to buffer at the same location. But I think we may be good now. Hey, XOXX Bobs, is Tom. My friend is security for a liquor distributor in Miami, and they give him all sorts of liquor bottles and paraphernalia. You could open a bar with all the stuff he has. Yo, that is awesome. Yeah, I don't drink alcohol, but I sort of like the look of all the different types of liquor bottles and stuff like that. Hey, Two Wheel Pines, good to see you. Disney Matt says, I love Manhattan West. I do too. It's definitely a lot better than it was back just 5 years ago. 5 years ago, the Hudson Yards looked absolutely, completely different. None of these buildings were even here. This was just a big train yard for the Long Island Railroad. So in this shot, you have the Moynihan train station to your right. Dead center of the screen, you have the Empire State Building, and then One Penn Plaza, the big office building. That was actually just redone. If you look in the lobby of One Penn Plaza, it is totally redone. Hey, Western Mass Dave says, good evening, Tom. Our great tour guide. Good to see you. So I guess we'll try to go to Hudson Yards, but the wind is going to be crazy. So I just want to warn everybody. Yeah, once we turn this corner here, we're going to get blasted with wind. Hey, Jimmy Anderson is here. What's up, Jimmy Anderson? Good to see you. Yeah, Homer J says it's always windy right here. This is like the worst wind tunnel in the city. I think the second worst wind tunnel is 59th Street, Columbus Circle. Oscar Rodriguez says, is this live or is it the same from yesterday? This is live. Rolly Cannoli, how are you? Rolly Cannoli says New York looks dead. Yeah, it's usually a lot less people as we venture away from Midtown Manhattan, which is kind of nice sometimes, getting away from all the crowds. Hey, Cosmo Scary, good to see you. Happy New Year to you too. Cosmo says, are you ready for the snow tomorrow? Indeed I am. Cosmo, are we supposed to get a lot of snow tomorrow, or is it just dusting? Good to see you, Falcon 1. Good to see you. I think we may cut inside to get out of the wind. So we are standing right in front of the shops at the Hudson Yards. Hey, Kevin says South Shore will get more than North Shore. What's up, Kevin? Good to see you. Mike C says, I can't imagine jogging outside wearing a mask. I can't either. 1.7 M views says, sorry we lost Betty White. Agreed. Heartland Explorer says we got 5 inches of snow in Iowa yesterday. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to, if we walk down this street, we're gonna get blown away by the wind. So we'll try to take a detour through the shops at the Hudson Yards. So this is what the entrance looks like. At the Hudson Yards. Hey, Kim Toy says hello. Good to see you. Cosmo says Virginia is forecasted to get hammered with snow. Yikes. Well, here in New York City, I've only seen snow 2 times, and that was the week of Thanksgiving, but the snow did not stick on the ground. Hey, Robert Stevens II says, are masks mandatory everywhere? I think inside. If you're inside in New York City, there is a mask mandate. Nicole says, hey, Tom and chat. What's up, Nicole? We are here at the shops at Hudson Yards. This is a pretty cool display here. What do you guys think of these flowers here? I think they look pretty beautiful. Hey, Durman says, what's up? Are you going to stay around the Hudson Yards or are you going elsewhere? I think we're going to take a quick lap around Hudson Yards and then we will try to head to Park Avenue and see the Seagram building. Cosmo Scary says, are you enjoying your IMAX so far, Tom? Yeah, it's pretty good. No complaints yet. Cosmo, are you thinking of getting one or what? Richard, good to see you. Devon Avery says, good evening. Yeah, they still have all the holiday stuff up. BB says, very nice flowers, reminds me of spring and summer. Pretty good observation. So this is the main entrance of the shops at the Hudson Yards. So now that we talked about the S&P 500 earnings estimates, the next best thing to talk about is S&P 500 companies' revenue estimates. And for 2022, revenue growth of the S&P is expected to increase 7.3%. That is more than double the 10-year average of 3.3%. So over the past 10 years, the revenue growth of the S&P 500 or companies in the S&P average about 3.3%. This year, we're looking at about 7.3% growth. So even though the S&P returned 27% last year, there's a lot of people, a lot of economists on Wall Street that are projecting not so hot returns. But, you know, if earnings are coming in stronger than expected, if revenue growth is coming in stronger than expected, and S&P 500 companies can maintain relatively strong profit margins, we may be in for another year of strong gains for equities. Hey, Felipe is here from Brazil. What's up, Felipe? Ingrid says, I am Brazilian and I love your videos. Thank you, Ingrid, for being here, and happy 2022. Tiago says, hello, everybody. The Swan is here, says hi, Tom and all. Swan, what do you think of the shops at Hudson Yards? What do you think? Robert Stevens II says beautiful display. Michael Grant, Action Kid is my hero as well. Princess says it looks amazing. Yeah, Lisa says 1,000 homes burned in Colorado from wildfires. That is horrible. That's been a big issue out west, has been the wildfires, especially in California. So I was actually proposing an idea where we build a cross-country pipeline of fresh water from the Great Lakes as well as the Finger Lakes in upstate New York all the way across to California to solve for the water crisis, because California is quite literally running out of water. So we need a solution, and I think the solution is a cross-country pipeline to bring fresh water from the East Coast to the West Coast. Hey, Maya's here. What's up, Maya? This is that balloon. Yeah, Mike sees especially the wildfires really get cranking up in December. San Miguel says, is that solution affordable, Tom? Well, I think it's much more affordable than having thousands of homes and businesses burned down a year and then having insurance companies pay to rebuild all of the infrastructure every year because it gets burned down by wildfires. And then insurance premiums have to go up for the insurance companies to hedge their risk. That's why you see in places like Florida, homeowners insurance is extremely expensive due to all the natural disasters. Hey, Gabriel Laurie. What's up, Gabriel Laurie? Bob says water will be the commodity. Indeed, invest in water. Hey, Western Mass Dave says a cross-country pipeline makes sense. That's why it probably won't happen. It's sad but true. Hey, Jack D says many of those wildfires are arson, but media does not report it out of fear of copycats. You know, Jack D, that you actually make a very good point. So California is so dry that even if you throw a cigarette outside the window in some parts, you can quite literally spark wildfires. Hey, Daniel Baca says, good thing all those insurance agencies profit off of the fear of modern life. Jeez. Robert Stevens II says, if you don't mind me asking, which one or two sectors do you predict the most growth for 2022? So I think we can sort of try to explain that and garner that out of a couple statistics and analyst expectations for next year. And I think that'll come out of which sector in the S&P 500 is going to have the most reliable and growing profit margins. And if we look at the estimates for next year, profit margins out of the real estate sector, technology sector, and the financial sector could see profit margins expand to about 15%, with energy, consumer discretionary, consumer staples. So if I had to guess which sector will outperform in 2022, it's probably going to be real estate, technology, and the underperforming sectors will probably be energy, consumer discretionary, and consumer staples, just based upon the estimates for profit margins. But I could be wrong. Danny Boy is here, says greetings from Mexico. Nice to see this while washing dishes. Hey, Danny boy, good to see you. War Walker says hi, Tom, in a New York accent. How was your day, Tomcat? My day was pretty good. Very relaxing day as we get back to work tomorrow. Lou Rodriguez says, Tom, how was your week gonna start? To work or do you study? No, I gotta go to work. Tomorrow is back to work. It's probably gonna be really busy. Rob H says, common sense solutions don't make sense to politicians. You know, that is sad, but it's kind of true. Sad but true. So Robert Steven, hopefully that answers your question. I think the sectors that will outperform within the S&P is probably going to be technology. Hey, Norm C says, greetings from Central Washington. Snow is on the way. Bob says, California has a problem. Too many people and not enough fresh water. Hey, Cool Aunt 516 says, I thought of the same thing. Put a pipeline in place that flood due to excessive rainfall. Send it to California. Yeah, or I agree with that. I agree with that. Bottom line, California is running out of water, and we need to do something about it. The Mighty Bull says he's watching, listening, and learning. Hey, Disney Matt says, Tom, do you prefer the East or West Village? I think I'm going to stick with the East Village. Just because I think the East Village is more like alive and happening. And is very close to NYU and Washington Square Park. Hey, photos from around New York here says, I'm so tired. We'll get some rest photos because it's back to work tomorrow. Yeah, Bob says, doesn't New York City get its fresh water from the Catskills? I think the vast majority of the water in New York City is brought in from upstate New York, so places like the Catskills and the Finger Lakes region. San Miguel says, is there any big company interested in interstate water pipelines? I'm not sure. I've never heard of anything like that. Yes, Sarah G, I heard about that. So in Dubai, they actually have drones that work to create clouds, to create rain. Isn't that bizarre? I think it's a good idea, though. That should be explored here. Hey, Sierra. What's up, Sierra? Good to see you. San Alexander says, it's actually colder here in Texas than it is in New York City. Crazy. That is crazy. Sarah G says, so there's a solution that's working in real time, somewhat expensive. So let's exit this mall at the Hudson Yards and we'll take a look at the vessel. Ko says, what a beautiful space. Sierra says, good to see you, Tom. Good to see you too, Sierra. Hope you're well. Robert Stevens II says, in Tennessee, we blast drones out of the sky. Wouldn't work here. That's hilarious. Hey, Ken says, stock futures rise ahead of the first day of 2022. Yeah, so Ken, tomorrow will be the first official trading day of the year. And let's keep in mind that statistics do show that every time we enter a midterm election cycle or a midterm election year, all of the major equity indices, such as the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ usually are flat to lower. But in the second half of the year, that is when markets start to pick up, and we actually tend to end the year on a positive note. So we'll see if the same thing happens this time. Nicole says the Christmas decoration should be up all year round. I think we'd get sick of them if they were up all year round. But they do look beautiful. Hey, Revis says I have to go now. Have a good night, everybody. Revis, have a great first start to the week of 2022. Sam Alexander says, what mall are you in? This is called the Shops at the Hudson Yards. We'll try to squeeze past these people and head out. Cynthia says, Tom, is your job at full capacity? Well, I left my previous company to try to start my own tech consultancy, but I do have to go and meet clients in the office, and the vast majority of my clients are probably at about, hey, how are you? Are probably at about 20% capacity. But a lot of my friends who work on Wall Street in investment banking, they've actually been getting email notices from Goldman Sachs, Jefferies, and Bank of America requesting that all employees work remote until further notice. NNB 045 says, Tom, is the shift towards growth stocks going to be maintained in 2022? So I think that's really up to interest rates. And this year, the Federal Reserve has signaled to the market that they will be raising rates 3 times. But in my opinion, I do not believe the Federal Reserve will be raising interest rates 3 times. And I think we will get a cyclical rotation back into growth stocks, especially into the SaaS, software as a service stocks. And the reason for this is because the profit margin estimates are relatively high for next year. Photos from around New York says, are your friends enjoying work from home? So surprisingly, no. The thing with working from home is working from home really translates into working 24/7, especially if you are in banking or tech sales or a software engineer, because there's really no off switch. When there's nobody commuting from the office, everybody's pretty much working 24/7, which is kind of a bummer. Hey, the Mighty Bull says, I think we are moving into a virtual economy. I agree. Japan Walk says, I also want to do something like this. What's up, Japan Walks? Good to see you. Sabrina Fair says, Tom tries to acknowledge as many chatters as possible. Hunter says, hey Tom, Hunter here. What is for dinner? I had some Korean food tonight. Some very good Korean food. Hey, Marilyn is here. Says, working from home can be socially isolating. Probably why in particular YouTube is so popular. Yeah, I mean, that's been a big problem too, Marilyn. I think you make a good point. You know, I think that Zoom conference calls and Microsoft Teams conference calls will never sort of be able to replace that human interaction, at least in my opinion. Some people like it. I think it gets old after a while. Paul Little says, yes, it's like being on call 24/7. I agree. That's one of the reasons why I started this channel, is because I was literally working 24/7. I was replying to emails and making presentation pitch decks at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, this is not healthy. Ken says, Tom, I'm at Credit Suisse, was told to work from home until February 1st. And you were correct. You work 24/7. Wow. That's crazy. Well, Ken, try not to work too hard, but that's wild. So they told you to work from home until February 1st. Wow. Yeah, so we do have a lot of finance people that join the stream, so it's always good to see everybody's perspective. Hey, Lost in the Curve says, off-site working should have started a couple decades ago. Valentina says, hi Tom, happy Sunday. So we'll try to do a walk around the vessel, but the wind is really going to be perhaps a tad annoying, so I forewarn you in advance.
So much nicer.
Time lapse. So does everybody here have a Series 7 and 63? Funny. Bottomless Coffee says, I think remote is good when it adds a hybrid environment. When people go to the office some days and stay home the rest, it's nice to have an option to not use a sick day or vacation day. I think I agree with that. I definitely agree. 100% remote, I'm not a big fan of, because it's, especially if you're very early in your career, right? So let's say if you're early in your career, you're a, fresh investment banking analyst. One of the most important things in the banking industry is you need to be able to network. And if you're 100% remote, it's very, very hard to get your networking in. Even if you're working in tech sales or enterprise software sales, networking, meeting people, and building relationships is so important. And it's almost impossible to do that if everybody's home all the time. So this is the Equinox Hotel right here at the Hudson Yards. John says, yeah, no kidding. Sabrina Fair says, Tom, 100% onboarding of new employees have been very challenging for them. Christian Ryan says, haven't even started my new job up here. Interested to see what's going to happen when we start. Well, I wish you the best of luck and welcome to New York. Charlie Richardson says, I have friends who work remote and sometimes they work out of the office. Oh, out of a cafe to switch it up. It is windy. Zach says, if I had money right now, I would donate. No problem, Zach. No need to donate anything. We're just hanging out. No need to donate anything. So this is the very famous vessel here. Hey, Roberta says, I am way more productive working from home. I hate communicating and eating out every day during lunch breaks. That's a good point. I guess everybody's different. Law says, Viva Mexico. Viva Mexico indeed. Paul Little says, yep, nothing replaces being able to shake someone's hand and look him in the eye. Agreed. Chris says, Tom, are you going to light up thing up and fly into the spaceship in the sky? Maybe. Good to see you, Chris. So this is the very famous yet expensive Equinox Hotel right here at the Hudson Yards. Mike C says the vessel looks like an alien technology. Sam says, my work lets me work remote 2 days a week. Good to see you, Roberta. Hey, Sam is here from Toronto, Canada. Says, Tom, Happy New Year, dude. Happy New Year to you too, Sam. Hope you're well. Jack D says, society may never be the same. They will keep this big C thing going on for decades. Joshua Lopez says, what's your favorite place to eat in New York City? My favorite place to eat is by far an Italian restaurant called Becco, B-E-C-C-O. Alex says, hey man, what are your thoughts on small cap stocks in 2022? So that is going to also be very dependent on interest rates. Somebody's trying to go up in the vessel. Not good. So usually the lower the interest rates, if the Federal Reserve keeps rates relatively low and continues to buy U.S. Treasuries as well as mortgage-backed securities, I think small caps could have a good year. But when investing in small caps, especially if you're following like the Russell, a lot of these companies are not profitable. And artificially low interest rates has actually created a big problem in the market where a lot of these small cap stocks, a lot of them are considered to be zombie companies where their business models only work due to the fact that interest rates are so low. So the moment interest rates start to go up, these are going to be the stocks that are going to fall the hardest. And we saw that a little bit this year. But profit margins are actually looking extremely strong for the S&P 500 this year. S&P 500 profit margins forecast is projected to be 12.8% this year, and that would be the highest net profit margins for the S&P 500 since 2008. Yeah, photos from around New York says the vessel is closed, unfortunately. Rob H says so many people are invested in COVID financially. They can't get out. I live about a half mile from Pfizer. The expansion project they've started is massive, says Rob H. 97 says, Tom, did you travel to Peru? I have not. Hey, Lisa says, what are your New Year's resolutions? Probably just to be a little bit more consistent. What about you? PDC says, can you jump into the river for me, please? We did that last night on the stream. So we only do that on Saturday nights is when we do the river plunge. Sorry you missed it. Christian Hansen says, wow, Rob H, I believe you. Hey, Out and About is here, our great moderator from Toronto. Good to see you out and about as always. Hope you're well. Happy 2022. All right, so we will walk through the shops again and out the other way because it is way too windy. So we will exit on the other avenue and then we will head to Park Avenue, New York, to my favorite building, the Seagram building. So I'll give you guys one more look because I think they're going to take all of this stuff down next week. Hey, Daniel Bacchus says, thank you for the info, bro. No problem. Hey, Penelope's here. What's up, Penelope? Co says, I am a millennial, so I think investing in hearing aids as we get older will be a smart move since we wear so many headphones. I think that's possibly a good idea. NNB 045 says, Tom, my New Year's resolution is to own up to my problems, even though I didn't create them. I respect that. if you don't take full responsibility or complete ownership for all the problems you have in your life, you'll never be able to fix them. So I think that's a great one. Yes, XXO Bob says, the Seagram building is a beautiful skyscraper. It is one of my favorite buildings in the entire city. Solo 401 says, imagine storing all these Christmas decorations up in the attic. Hey, Jennifer says, cheers from Brooklyn. So glad I found your streams. Love the financial angle during the walks. Plus, I'm healing from foot surgery. Wow. Well, get well soon. Please get well soon, please. Miss Bash says hi from Dallas, Texas. Good evening, everybody from Dallas. So talking about profit margins for the S&P 500, many people are sort of in awe and really don't understand why profit margins would be expanding across the board at many companies in the S&P. So S&P 500 profit margins are forecasted to be up 12.8%, and this would be the highest increase in profit margins since 2008. And one of the reasons for this is inflation. So why would inflation be a reason for profit margins to increase as opposed to decrease? Because a lot of the times, inflation is actually a reason for profit margins to decrease. But if we think about all the companies now, especially the very top heavy, your Apples, your Microsofts, even some of the retailers like Walmart, Target, why would inflation help these companies? Well, even though the costs of raw materials and things like that are going up, these companies have indestructible brands, indestructible business models, so they are able to pass those costs on to consumers. And a lot of the times when they change their prices, let's say if manufacturing costs go up or precious metals go up that go into make semiconductor chips or whatever it is, a lot of these companies are able to raise prices and even bake in a higher profit margin. And consumers like you and me are willing to pay for it because these brands are so iconic. So for example, if a price of an iPhone went up $100, 9 times out of 10 people are still going to pay that price increase because Apple is such an iconic brand. So in times of inflation, the equities that you want to be owning are stocks and companies with the strongest brands that will be able to pass on those price increases to consumers. So this, in my opinion, is why we've been seeing a little bit of an expansion in profit margins in a lot of companies in the S&P, because they're able to pass those price increases on to people like you and me. Hey, Tech Explorers NYC is here. What's up, Tech Explorers NYC? Good to see you. Anne's is so beautiful, the lights. Love the Hudson Yards. Sarah G says, a brand represents a higher ideal that a consumer supports. Jerry's here, says, I wish we could have Christmas 12 months of the year. What's up, Jerry? Jerry's joining us from, I believe, Toronto, if I remember correctly. NNB045 says, Tom, yes, but that contradicts what you said about low interest rates favoring growth stocks. Could you refer? How does that contradict it? I would like to know, because maybe it does. So a lot of these growth stocks, for example, let's talk about a lot of the cybersecurity high flyer growth stocks. In a software company, your profit margins are extremely high, right? Because you don't really deal with raw materials. You just hire some software engineers to build your products, and then you sell that software on a solution or on a subscription basis. or as a service. So it's very predictable revenue streams and very predictable profit margins. Hey, Alejandro's here. What's up, Alejandro? Good to see you. '97 says, bro, would you like to go to Peru? I would like to visit Peru. Hopefully I have time over the next couple of years. I would love to visit. Marilyn says, what is the biggest financial mistake you think most people make? I would say getting into extreme amounts of debt to go to a college. I think college is very important. I love education. But I think you should probably try to avoid going into debt to get a degree. If you don't have the money to go to a private school, there's a ton of great state and local colleges around your community that you can get just as good of an education at as opposed to maybe like a private school. Because a lot of my friends that I talk to, we have very similar degrees. But unfortunately, some of my buddies are stuck paying off upwards of $170,000 of student loan debt. So I would just try to avoid student loan debt as much as possible, if it were me. Yeah, Sabrina Fair says STEM is a good pursuit. So definitely like a major in computer science or something like that. I think that's a really good idea. Hey, Mark Friedman is here, says hi and Happy New Year. Rob H says, Tom, where did you go to college? I went to college right here in New York City at John Jay College of Criminal Justice on 59th Street near Columbus Circle. And I had a really good time. PDC says, can you send greetings to the Kowalt family? Please, my friend from New York City. Well, greetings to you guys. Hey, Poon Adam is here, says Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. Rock Band 5 Million says, Tom, how do you hold the camera so still when you're walking? So we utilize a gimbal. We utilize a gimbal as we are walking. So everybody, check out the Empire State Building. It looks great tonight. All Around Sound says, what type of equipment are you streaming on? We are using an iPhone 11. Cool on 516 says, I think the biggest mistake is not investing at all. Roberta says, operating leverage. Sarah G says, apply for scholarships. Usually schools have deals if your grades are good. That's true.
Like fresh food.
Yeah, and a lot of the times when I give my opinion on college, it can get misconstrued because a lot of people say, oh, you're anti-college, and I'm not. I think going to college is extremely important, but I don't think it is a requirement to pay an egregious amount of money in order to get a degree, in my view. Hey, Kamal1 says, hello from Kamal. What's up, Kamal? Turner says, it looks cold tonight. It is, and the weird thing is, it was actually about 50 degrees when I woke up today, which is kind of crazy. Uma says, can you say happy birthday to John? Happy birthday to our pal John. Hey, Chris says, going to miss these days where you can answer everybody's questions. The channel is growing. I try to get to everybody's questions, but good to see you, Chris. Hope your 2022 is off to a great start. NMB045 says, Tom, I'm not sure about my last comment. I mean, and you could be right. You know, a lot of things in the markets tend to contradict one another. It's definitely not an exact science. Usually in times when the Federal Reserve actually raises interest rates one time, that could actually be very positive for the market because it sends a signal to a lot of investors on Wall Street that the Fed is actually taking inflation seriously. Jack D says Tom should make a podcast at least weekly. Maybe we will. Antonio PF says, how is the weather there? Well, Antonio, supposedly it's supposed to snow tomorrow. So I believe it'll be our first real snowfall in the city. Wow, check out that view, everybody. XOXX Bob says, college costs me about $500 a semester. It's criminal what they are doing to kids. I agree, it's insane. Well, one of the real reason why college is so expensive is because the federal government got into the business of guaranteeing all of these student loans. So what that does, it takes all free market capitalism and price discovery out of college tuition. If private schools around the country understand and they know that kids will be able to 100% be guaranteed to get any amount of money possible to go to college, what is the incentive for colleges to keep prices lower? There's no incentive. So when you strip free markets and when you hinder free market capitalism, things get more expensive. But if you walked into a student loan office and you were denied to get the loan and nobody could get money to go to college, well, colleges would have to be forced to lower tuition. Hey, Miguel is here. What's up, Miguel? Good to see you. Miguel Gonzalez says hi. What's up, Miguel? Hey, the Chase Man says the good thing about 2022 is that we are getting a new mayor. We do. So in the city of the city of New York, we have a new mayor, Eric Adams. So I'm wishing him all the best to our new mayor. Hey, Connor says New York Ranger colors. I think, did the Rangers play tonight, Connor? I forget. Cow Person says, what is the building lit up in blue, red, and white? So this is the very famous Madison Square Garden. This is where the New York Knicks and the New York Rangers play. Very iconic, very famous, and very beautiful, I might add. Joshua Lopez says, Tom, have you ever been to an event in Madison Square Garden? I have not, but I would like to see a Billy Joel concert here. I definitely would like to see a Billy Joel concert right here in MSG. Durman, I'm not sure about where they filmed Spider-Man. Hey, Dino says, yes, the Rangers played this afternoon. Did the Rangers win this afternoon? But good to see you, Dino. Hey, we have Scott Briggs in the house. Says, I wasn't too thrilled when I was starting college in 1986 that I could barely get any financial aid. They claimed my parents earned too much money, which was a bunch of bullcrap. Well, hopefully it worked out. Cow Person says, me too, I like Billy Joel. I love Billy Joel, he's great. Mimi says, hi, hey Tom, by the way, enjoyed your New Year's Eve live stream. Hey, thank you. By the way, do you think 60-40 stocks and bond allocation still makes sense, especially for people nearing retirement? So I can't give any financial advice, but what I could say is many people have retirement accounts in like a 401k. So a lot of the times if you look in your 401k, oftentimes you will see that you're invested in a target date fund. And essentially a target date fund, in layman's terms, it just really allocates the amount of stocks and bonds in a portfolio. So for example, somebody with a target date portfolio in 2025 is probably going to have a very, very large exposure to bonds as opposed to somebody who has a target date fund of 2060. right? If you have a target date fund of 2060 and you're just entering the workforce, your portfolio is probably going to be very, very much so allocated towards equities or stocks. Because the younger you are, the more risk you could take, because if the market crashes, you have a ton of time to recover that, because you have 30 or 50 years of your working lifetime. But as you near retirement age, a lot of people need to be on a fixed income budget. But we'll see. I mean, the statistics were showing over the past 5 years, equity funds have outperformed bond funds. So maybe the bond vigilantes will come around again, but I'm not sure when that day will happen. Rolly Cannoli says Rangers 140. That's good. Cool Aunt says Billy Joel is a fellow Long Islander. Cool Aunt 516. Do you like Billy Joel? So this is the new One Penn Plaza. They redid the entire thing. It looks absolutely gorgeous. I actually had an interview when I was a teenager in this building. I didn't get the job, but I could tell you that the lobby looked extremely different. They did an unbelievable job here. Cow Person says, have you ever been around to see the Wall Street Bull? So 2 streams ago, we were walking down to Broadway and we saw the Mighty Bull. Rosebud 39 says, get out of the stock market and buy gold and silver, says Rosebud. Yeah, Rosebud, a lot of people have that opinion, one of which being an economist that I follow and have followed for a long time. I think he's a really good guy, very smart. Peter Schiff. And Peter Schiff is the CEO and founder of Euro Pacific Capital and Euro Pacific Bank. And he is what you would call a gold bug. Even though I don't agree with everything that Peter Schiff says, I always listen to his podcast. He has a great podcast called The Peter Schiff Show. Always listen to it every week. Hey, Antonio PF, good to see you, Antonio. So this is where I spend a lot of my time, right here, the Long Island Railroad. I always love this view. It's a good shot of the entrance of the Long Island Railroad and the Empire State Building. Oh, Cool Aunt 516 says, I love Billy, saw him in Tampa, Florida. That's awesome. Dino says, you need a lot of gold and silver physically. Where would you store it all? So I think you can pay people to store your gold. I think the most gold in the world is stored right here in Lower Manhattan. Tim Flynn says, if you had a lump sum of $60,000 from a frozen pension fund, what would you roll it into? I would probably roll it into an investment with the lowest amount of fees. Because that's the thing, you know, there's been studies done that it doesn't matter. Statistics show that it actually doesn't matter what you're invested in. Over time, it matters that you just reduce the amount of fees that you're paying to Wall Street. And a lot of the times, if you look in your 401k, sometimes you're paying upwards of 3% in management fees. So if you could figure out just how to reduce your fees to near zero, I think you'll be all right. But many people suggest dollar cost averaging into a very low cost index fund that tracks the S&P 500. You could think about John Bogle or Jack Bogle. Unfortunately, he did pass away, but he is the creator of Vanguard, and Vanguard was one of the original index fund players with very, very low fees. So now we are walking directly down 34th Street near the famous Macy's building. Ooh, look at this guy. This guy's got to get out of the road, man. That's not smart. Hey, Go Harder Brothers' giant vaults emptied out in the World Trade Center basement. John says, I don't lose money on lottery tickets. Interesting. Yeah, Jack D says John Bogle or Jack Bogle was a very honorable man. I would probably argue that Jack Bogle did more for the retail investor than anybody else who has ever lived. Rosebud 39 says I would keep gold and silver where you can get your hands on it at will. Hello from Russia and Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody from Russia. Rock Band 5 Million says, where in New York City do you live? Come to the Upper East Side. So I used to live on the Upper West. But now I reside on Long Island. Andreas A says gold is overrated. Yeah, there's always a big debate. There's always a big debate between gold, if it's still a good store of value. There's a big debate in the investing community over that. Hey, Andy is here. This is a beautiful city. Gabriel Lors is Fort Knox. No, I think a lot of gold is actually in the Federal Reserve building, very close to Wall Street in Lower Manhattan. "13 says metaverse stocks and or metaverse land ownership. Meet Kevin has been covering a lot. Yeah, so the metaverse should be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, you're right. A lot of people are actually buying virtual real estate within the metaverse. Obama says, ask Turkey if gold is overrated. So Obama, you make a good point there. So for anybody who doesn't know what Obama is talking about, in Turkey, their currency or their fiat currency is called the lira, Turkish lira. And it is in hyperinflationary collapse against every other currency pretty much across the board. And the crazy thing is that the president of Turkey is actually calling for additional interest rate cuts.
What are you doing?
Which is really bizarre. So think about that. Your currency is in hyperinflationary collapse, and the president of the country is actually calling for interest rate cuts. Usually, in times of high inflation, the central bank of whatever particular country needs to start raising interest rates, not cutting them. Dino says you have to have a huge amount of precious metals to replace paper currency and other financial investments. Are people in Turkey supposed to carry it around in a wheelbarrow? Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's why a lot of the Bitcoin bulls make their bull thesis for Bitcoin is that you can pretty much carry billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin around literally in your wallet. If you just maybe carry around a Ledger Nano S or something like that. And Bitcoin is very valuable for remittance payments around the world too. Hey, John says my nephew works for a gold exploration company. Wow, that must be a cool job. That must be a cool job. So here we are looking at the One Vanderbilt building. Very beautiful. San Miguel says a question for Tom and everybody in this chat. Is inflation swallowing small revenues for small investors? Is inflation swallowing small revenues? Well, I think inflation is really, really terrible for the working class. You know, for example, we had a CPI print of about 6.8%. So if you were not growing your net worth or your investments by at least 6.8% in 2021, you actually lost money. So the only thing, and I always say this, the only thing that Federal Reserve money printing does is it exacerbates the wealth gap between the 1% and the working class here in the United States, because when you print money, that creates inflation in asset prices across equities, across real estate. And if you look at the data, the vast majority of equities and real estate is owned by the 1%. So these are the Macy's windows. I'm not sure if they are going to be taking these down anytime soon, but perhaps next week. Yeah, Cal Person says, I love the window displays. Yeah, Go Harder Brother says, you will need a wheelbarrow for all the fiat soon. Well, I think that's what happened in Zimbabwe, if anybody remembers correctly. Everybody became a trillionaire in Zimbabwe. Zach Underwood says, what is Macy's? It is the largest department store in America. Obama says, why do central banks buy gold and not Bitcoin? I don't know. I think we'll actually probably start to see central banks acquiring Bitcoin in the next couple of years. Dino says the collapse of fiat currency has been predicted over the last 100 years. Yeah, well, every fiat currency throughout history has gone to zero. Hey, Louis R is here. What's up, Louis? Says Tom, greetings from Puerto Rico. Good to see you. Marty Lewis is here. Says hello, Tom, and everybody. Good to see you, Marty Lewis. Chris says, what was your ROI in the market? So in my personal long-short portfolio, I returned 19%. So I didn't even beat the S&P 500 last year. Yes, that is right. So if anybody wants to read a free financial newsletter written by myself, if you type !NEWS or news in the chat, the Nightbot will drop a link where you could sign up to read the Behind the Street newsletter for free, and that will be getting sent out tonight automatically. Chris says, I didn't need it 31%. No, Chris, you did, man. That's great. That's great. I mean, the S&P 500 returned 27%. If you return 31%, you shot lights out. That's awesome, man. Well, I actually probably returned a little bit more than that because I realized a lot of losses for tax loss selling. Hey, Carolina Thomas here says, hi, Tom. I've been here watching from the start. Great show. Thank you, Carolina Tom. It is quite the chilly night out in New York. Sam Miguel says, so is the Vanguard S&P 500 index fund is still a good investment? I think so. I think so. I think since its inception, the S&P 500 has returned on average 13%. Hey, Sam Pod is here, says, Happy New Year. Really enjoy your financial knowledge and your followers' questions. Very informative and enjoy the walks. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sam, and I hope you have a great 2022. Benino says, hello, Tom. Thanks for showing us the city. No problem. Jonathan says, what are you doing in the city? We're just hanging out. Zach Underwood says, I will be back soon. All right, Zach. Thank you for joining. We appreciate it. Connor says the Buffalo Bills won today. Pretty cool. So everybody, this is where we were standing to watch the ball drop on New Year's. I'm not sure if anybody was on the New Year's Eve live stream, but we were right here watching the ball drop in Times Square. That was one of the most fun nights I've had in a while, so thank you guys for joining me. It was a pleasure to ring in the new year with everybody. PDC says, Tom, what avenue are you walking up? This is Broadway, so we are walking up Broadway, about to pass West 37th Street, head towards Times Square. We are heading north. Hey, Manuel says, greetings from Spain. Hey, Manuel. Luis says, is this real live? It is real live. Hey, we have a lot of Japanese viewers joining us. Hello from Japan. Mimi says, I would be cautious this year. Will dollar cost average for VTI? Yeah, so I think that's a good point, right? So I was watching an interesting podcast that was talking about historical returns for equities markets during midterm election years. And I know we have a lot of international viewers. So in the United States, this year, we have midterm elections. So historically, during years of midterm elections, for the first half of the year, the S&P 500 is actually negative to flat. But in the second half of the year, that's when returns really start to crank up, and we usually average about 8 to 15%. Look at all the garbage. Hey, Patty C64 says, I'm pretty new here. I just check once in a while. Are you mostly a business channel? Well, we usually walk around New York City and Miami, or skateboard around New York City and Miami, and we just talk about finance and things like that. So we talk about finance, tech, and really anything. But we also talk about other things. But it's good to see you here. Thank you for joining. Wow. Says, hi Tom, I am an Argentinian watching your videos. Welcome everybody from Argentina. Okay, this is West 39th Street. Andrew Walters says, hey Tom, love to see you do some podcasts. You're super knowledgeable. Hello from Wales in the UK. Hey Andrew, thank you for that. So I do have some stuff planned for next year. It's in the works, but thank you for watching. Hope everything is well in the United Kingdom. Manuel says, Tom, is New York a dangerous city? I think danger is relative. I think danger is a relative term. So I guess I'll say no. Hey, Carpert says, hello from India. How are you? Sammy says, Tom, do you have any cryptocurrency investments? Yes, I only own Bitcoin and Ethereum. I do not bother with any of the other alternative cryptocurrencies or the altcoins. I think the vast majority of them are fraudulent. So everybody, if you look to the middle of your screen, you'll actually see the ball that they dropped on New Year's Eve. I'll zoom in to show everybody. So that is the New Year's Eve ball that they dropped. Hey, Patty C says, I live in Manhattan for 17 years. That's awesome. What part of Manhattan? Cynthia says, is Bitcoin fraudulent? No, it is not. Mike C says, do you consider Warren Buffett out of touch for dismissing Bitcoin? So I wouldn't say out of touch, right? Because he is the best investor of all time. But historically, if you look at Warren Buffett's investments, he's missed every single technology boom there is, because that's not his style, right? So there's two types of investors on Wall Street. There's value investors that try to invest in companies that they believe are undervalued. And then there are growth investors who invest into companies that trade at premium valuations or premium multiples. Ooh, it is windy. The wind is crazy right here. So think about it like this. Bill Gates is one of Warren Buffett's closest friends. And Bill Gates could not convince Warren Buffett to make an investment in Microsoft up until the last couple of years. Think about that. So Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, two best friends, and Warren Buffett would not invest into Microsoft because he thought it was too risky. And now Microsoft is one of the top 5 most valuable companies in the world. Hey, Amazing Videos says, how can Bitcoin be a currency with the IRS treating it as an asset where you have to pay capital gains each time you buy something? Yeah, so I wouldn't consider it a currency. I would consider it a form of digital gold, and that's why if you think about all of these alternative cryptocurrencies, that's why I don't buy them, because the SEC will classify them as currencies, as securities. Securities, and I think it's going to be a big problem. So everybody, you can still see some of the confetti flying around in the air here. Kind of crazy. Hey, Roberta says, I bought Nubank stock, partly because Warren Buffett, and lost money so far. Yeah, so Nubank, I believe, is one of those all online fintech banks. Yeah, that is right. Warren Buffett also turned down an investment in Amazon. And that's not to say that Warren Buffett is stupid. He's one of the greatest investors of all time. He's just a value investor. He's not a growth investor. Hey, Lady O is here. What's up, Lady O? Good to see you. Andy says, it's good to see Times Square again. Mike C says, the IRS now asks you point blank on the 1040 if you own cryptocurrency. Yes, they do. Ken says, Buffett bought Apple years ago and has done very well. Yeah, I think he bought Apple 5 years ago. Mike C, I wonder if Stanley Druckenmiller owns any Bitcoin. Yeah, so Stanley Druckenmiller, in my view, is the greatest investor of all time. and he does own Bitcoin. The only issue with Bitcoin is that it's a very illiquid asset, right? And if you're an institutional investor, the number one thing that you need is liquidity. And Bitcoin is very illiquid. So if you are a big hedge fund or, even a big pension fund and you're trying to buy, a couple $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, it's going to take you a couple months to do that, to fill the entire order without significantly pushing up the price yourself. Cynthia says, so you have to answer to the IRS if they ask. I think so. I mean, if you don't pay your taxes, you'll probably go to jail. Chris says, but does he own Tesla? I'm not, you know what, Chris? That's actually a good question. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I want to say no. I'm not sure. So this building right in front of us is where they dropped the ball on New Year's. Hey, Helen says hello from Brazil. What's up, Helen? Otto says, Tom, can you recommend a crypto wallet? Well, I think if you want to hold your Bitcoin offline, you could buy like a Nano Ledger S. And I believe that will be suffice in storing it. Oh, look at everybody lined up for the COVID tests, the big C. Hey, Juan Carlos is here joining us from Chile. How are you, Juan? Mike C says, this is the first time I've seen you in Times Square, Tom. Yeah, I thought we would take a visit to Times Square just because it's, a couple days after New Year's. And surprisingly, a lot of people have been emailing me to show them Times Square, so we might as well. Lisa S says, have you ever been to the Wegmans in Brooklyn? So I haven't. I believe the Wegmans in Brooklyn is at the Navy Yard. Is that right? So the Brooklyn Navy Yard now has a brand new, very famous grocery store called Wegmans. SDA Lyrics says, please subscribe. Thank you, SDA Lyrics. Cynthia says, Tom, would you give a course on cryptocurrency investing? I would not. I would not. Yeah, Lady O, I love Wegmans is great. I think they have multiple locations in upstate New York. So this is an advertisement for the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. A little weird. So this is Ernst & Young, and Ernst & Young is a big consulting firm. So you could think about Ernst & Young, PwC, as well as McKinsey and Deloitte. Hey, Paul Little says, yes, many Wegmans in upstate New York. Supposedly it's the greatest grocery store ever. Hey, William Creech says, I never thought I'd see Tom in Times Square so much. Yeah, William, I think just because it's New Year's, we'll make an exception. But if you look closely, everybody, you can still see some of the confetti flying around. Dirty D says, I've only been to Wegmans when I was in Syracuse, New York. This is Dirty D. San Miguel says, how would you call them, the big four accounting firms? Yes, so EY or Ernst & Young, Deloitte, and KPMG. Alexis says they're in Western New York, not upstate. There's a big difference. Copy that, 10-4. Hey, Cynthia says the Wegmans in Brooklyn, New York is very, very nice. Lisa S says Deloitte is the best. Yeah, I have a couple buddies who work at Deloitte. So we'll do one lap around and then we will exit Times Square and go to the Seagram building. Hey, Connor Hicks is hi from Niagara Falls. Welcome, Connor. Karan says hi from Trinidad and Tobago. Helen says thank you for answering me. No problem. Good to see you, Helen. Thank you for joining the chat. Hope you're enjoying the live stream. Hey, Robert Miller says love your walks and financial comments, Tom. Well, thank you for joining, Robert, and I'm wishing you a very happy 2022.
No. December.
Dirty D says she's right. There's a big difference. New Yorkers consider Yonkers upstate. I don't really like going through Times Square too much. Finally, over the past couple of years, there's been a lot of derelict, seedy characters causing trouble, which is unfortunate. I think there's been 2 shootings in Times Square too, which is really unfortunate because in order for New York to come back, we need the tourists to feel safe in our city. So hopefully that's something the new mayor can do. The new mayor being Eric Adams. So I'm optimistic for the new mayor because Eric Adams is a former NYPD officer. So he knows what's up. He's a smart guy, sharp guy. I don't agree with him on everything, but policing, I think he's got it covered. Hey, Murky, what's going on? Says, why would the Fort Lauderdale Police Department advertise in Times Square? Well, I think there's a lot of disgruntled NYPD officers that don't like the mandates for the vaccines. So perhaps they're trying to hire away some talent. Yeah, Jonathan Richards says Times Square too much for me. I agree. Hey, Power 100, good to see you. AVH says no way Yonkers is like the Bronx after Yonkers is upstate. NNB 045 says, Tom, I appreciate you braving the rain yesterday. Did your feet get wet? So surprisingly, no. A DJ Investor says it looks like business is booming in New York. Andrew Logan says, I was in Times Square back on Memorial Day. Great place to visit, but not so much on the living. I agree. Joe C says Times Square is a zoo. Somebody says show the Safe Moon billboard. I'm not sure what that is. Leo says, LOL, I literally live here and I am watching the live stream for no reason. Good to see you, Leo. I wish you a very, very good 2022. I think I've had enough Times Square for 2022. We will make our exit and then go to Park Avenue, home to some of the largest investment banks, hedge funds, private equity firms. However, we do have Morgan Stanley, which is a big investment bank, which is right across the street right here, as well as Barclays. And investment bankers on Wall Street will be treated to some of the largest bonuses in history this year due to record merger and acquisition activity, as well as an initial public. So a lot of the investment bankers that work in, they were very busy this year. They will be rewarded handsomely for their work. Ruby says, yes, thank you, Tom. Let's boogie on out. I agree. John Jr. says, where was the NASDAQ? So the NASDAQ is on the very south corner of Times Square. We did pass by it. And we'll go up one more. Check out these two dogs, love them. I think those are French bulldogs, I believe. Yeah, NNB 045 says some people says that money printing causes an increase in M&A activity. I would agree. Hey, DJ Edit says hello from Paterson, New Jersey. Welcome everybody from Paterson. Good to see you. Marty Lewis says Krispy Kreme on the left. That is right. So this is the Krispy Kreme donut shop. Chris says, have you ever been to the new JP Morgan building? So I think that's going up on Park Avenue, isn't it? I think they just recently broke ground on it. And this is the very famous Junior's Cheesecake place. I think it may be a little bit overrated, but when I was a kid, my dad used to work at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and I used to take the train to Atlantic Terminal, Brooklyn, where the original Junior's is in downtown Brooklyn. Question mark says, greetings from Nicaragua. Somebody says, do you have any tips for anybody looking to move to New York City? So my tip is, if you want to live here and not spend much money, try to find some roommates, live with roommates. And here we are outside of the Barclays Investment Bank. Which is right next to BNP Paribas, which is a French investment bank where a helicopter actually crashed on top of the bank a few years ago. Lisa S says, what is a good neighborhood to live in New York City? I think my favorite neighborhood for living is probably the Upper West Side. So anywhere between 66th Street, Lincoln Center, and 96th Street. Young Nation 92 says, show us a subway station. Maybe over here, when we get over here, we'll take a look. Bruna says, cool, so many Brazilians here. Yeah, whenever I look at the channel analytics, we do have a ton of Brazilian viewers. So thank you everybody in Brazil for watching. Yeah, Nice Guy says Soho as well. AVH 700 says some of the world's greatest Broadway hits were written in that very building where you were just by CVS. DJ Edit says, do you provide service for stock investments? I do not. I do not. Christian Ryan says, Barclays building used to be Lehman Brothers. Yes. See, I didn't know that. But that is where Lehman Brothers went under. And I believe a few viewers in the chat actually said that they saw many people leaving in cardboard boxes when Lehman Brothers collapsed and went bankrupt during the 2008 financial crisis, which is known as the subprime mortgage crisis, where there was a record number of defaults on home mortgages due to adjustable rate mortgages. So we're coming up on Radio City Music Hall, Rockefeller Center, and 30 Rock. But this is a really good steakhouse, Del Frisco's, right here. Voin says, cheers to all from Canada. This is wild. Thanks for the tour. Hey, thank you for being here. We love our Canadian viewers. Mike C says, ironic since Barclays wouldn't have bailed out Lehman. AVH 700 says, what company is in the old Bear Stearns building? So I'm actually not sure about that. I'm not sure where Bear Stearns was. Kevin Sunderland says, stated income loans, people literally just saying what they made, no documentation, nuts. Yeah, that is a little bit crazy. There was no income verification, no credit checks, and many people were qualifying for mortgages that they definitely could not afford. In some cases, multiple mortgages with adjustable rates. And an adjustable rate mortgage means when interest rates go up, so does the interest rate on your mortgage. So everybody started getting hit with balloon payments, and everybody at once defaulted on their mortgage payments because they could not afford the payment. It was an American disaster that almost took down the global economy. Then we had to have Ben Bernanke come to the rescue. Hey, Enrique is here. It says, Happy New Year, Tom. Thank you, Enrique. Wow, photos from around New York says, I remember seeing a girl on the subway with a Lehman Brothers banker bag when it collapsed. Yeah, Ron TV says 2008, 2009 was the worst year to work in the financial industry. Paul Little says Peter Schiff called the financial crisis of 2007, 2008. Yeah, Paul Little. Peter Schiff, I believe, wrote a book called, was it Crash Proof, I believe? But then again, Peter Schiff has been calling for a market crash every single year for eternity. But I love Peter Schiff. So I was first introduced to Peter Schiff when I was in college, when for one of my assignments I had to watch Peter Schiff's very famous video at Zuccotti Park during the Occupy Wall Street protests. So if anybody wants to check that out, please, I think it is a prerequisite for anybody to listen to that video. It's called I Am the 1% by Peter Schiff. It was a Reason TV special. So this is my old office right here, the Marsh and McLennan building. Had a lot of good times in that building. Nicholas Persad says, hey Tom, any advice for somebody looking to invest about $100,000 US in New York City as a long-term investment? I can't give out financial advice, but looking to invest $100,000 in New York City, I don't know. I mean, it's investing in New York City is very risky because we have a lot of regulation rules and high taxes. So I don't know if I could advise on that one. Hello from India. Chen James says, Happy New Year from Taiwan. It is James from Taiwan. What's up, James? Omar says the elites, the 2008 crisis, like right now the inflation crisis of 2020. DJ Edits says, will the real estate market crash due to remote working jobs? I'm not sure I see the correlation there, but I think interest rates, I think real estate, the prices of real estate are really predicated on interest rates. So as a rule of thumb, for every percentage point interest rates go up, housing prices tend to drop 10%. So if you look straight ahead, you can actually see the very top of the World Trade Center or the Freedom Tower right here. Yeah, Paul Little says, oh my God, Tom, you just passed the hot dog stand. Remember your story about the rats? It is crazy. But that's a good question. I mean, a lot of people are talking about, you know, the next crash in the prices of real estate. But if we actually look at the data this year, even though real estate prices were red hot, the housing market was red hot, the underwriting process of a lot of these loans are actually pretty good. They're actually very, very strong mortgages that are being underwritten with very high credit scores, people with very good incomes. And oftentimes this year, many people have been buying their homes with significant down payments, 25%, and oftentimes even all cash. So in order for the real estate market to crash, you're going to need a lot of people to default on their mortgages. And I don't think that's going to happen, especially since the vast majority of mortgages are now fixed rate, which means that your interest rate is locked in for the duration of the mortgage. So this is the observation deck here at 30 Rockefeller Center. Hey, Chris is here. This has just joined in. It looks lovely this evening. Good to see you, Chris, and happy Sunday. Andy says it's clear day, beautiful city. Nice guy says New York City muni bonds are exempt from tax. Yeah, I'm not sure I would ever want to buy a New York City municipal bond, but some people do. Me personally, I probably wouldn't. Yeah, Nicholas, I guess it would just depend on what you're trying to invest in. Are you trying to start a business? Are you trying to buy a piece of real estate? I guess it really depends on the investment. Hey, Elijah's here, says, how long will they keep the street closed off? I think it'll be closed off until they take down the very famous Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, which is right here. Hey, Tony says, hi, my friend, how are you? Happy 2022 to all. Enjoy from Sydney, Australia. Josie, time check, 10:45. Thank you, Josie. Appreciate it. FD Superstar says, masking kids is child abuse. Allie says, if it snows tomorrow, will you come out and do a live stream? So it depends. We may be live tomorrow. I don't want to guarantee 100%, but I think it would be cool to stream in the snow. I think that'd be kind of cool. Paul Little says, always beautiful. Broadway Mozart says, wow, damn it. The next crash will be, where is the next giant bubble? And where do you think it is? Right in our face. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why they call it a bubble, is because nobody could see it coming. But I think the largest bubble is the debt bubble. So I always say, if you want to know when equities prices will crash, you have to look at the debt market, because a crash in the bond market or an implosion in the debt market will end the bull run in equities. Hey, there's a lot of people ice skating tonight, which is good. Hey, Dutchman is here. Says, hi, Tom. Do you ever talk about ransomware issues? Yeah, so we actually, a couple weeks ago, we dedicated an entire stream to cybersecurity. We highlighted some of the most notable cybersecurity companies that actively try to prevent ransomware attacks. Hey, Georgie says, where do you think is better for startup companies, Miami or New York? I'm not too sure. I think that New York still does have a very strong startup environment, but Miami is pretty close behind. I would say Austin, Texas, maybe. Hey, welcome everybody from São Paulo, Brazil. Yeah, Ali said yesterday the ice skating rink looked... It did, it was crazy. There was... Hey, Paul Little says, a long time ago I was ice skating that. So let's check out St. Patrick's Cathedral. Hey, Pillar says, hi from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I hope everybody has the most amazing 2022. Helen says, where do you live? New York. I split my time between New York and Miami. So here is one last look of the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree before they take it down. Sunshine after rain, it looks beautiful. Hey, Zodiac says savings rates are down. if they don't do another mortgage moratorium or forbearance, things are going to crash on February 1st. Yeah, it's interesting. We were actually just talking about that. We were just talking about that the other day, how savings rates. So we are talking about this in the Behind the Street newsletter. So every week I write a free financial newsletter for all of the viewers. So if you want to sign up for free, if you type !news, NEWS in the chat, you can sign up for the newsletter. But I think you're right. So the savings rate has fallen off a cliff, but we did some in-depth analysis and I included some infographics that I made in the newsletter. And essentially, I think that we are going to see a wave of people returning to the workforce this year. So I was saying that if anybody sort of wants to get ahead of the wave, if you're looking for a new job or you're planning on asking your boss for a raise, I would do it now because I believe in Q3 or Q4 of next year, I think the tides are going to turn and people are going to start competing for jobs again. All right, so let's walk over to the Seagram building. This is one of my favorite buildings in all of New York City. Actually, my favorite building. As we are walking past St. Patrick's Cathedral. Hey, Young Nation 92 says the tree in Anaheim, Arizona is taller than this tree, but this one always gets more shine. I would like to see that one. FD Superstar says, how much snow will New York City be getting? That I'm not sure. It is a windy night though, everybody. Does anybody from New York know how much snow we're gonna get tomorrow? I would like to know myself. I think it's only going to be a dusting. Hey, Eduardo's here. It's happy 2022 here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Thank you for that. So everybody, just a real quick recap of tonight's discussion. We were talking about earnings, revenue, and profit margin estimates for the S&P 500 in 2022. But I think the big question here is, what will be the GDP print for 2022? So a lot of market research analysts and economists are projecting GDP growth of 4.3% for next year. And that is going to be down from 5.6% in 2021. We had 5.6% GDP growth this year, which is pretty good. But although we are coming off of a pandemic year in 2020, so the estimates will be a little bit, let's just say, easy to beat. So this is the very famous St. Patrick's Cathedral gift shop right here. Very beautiful. I always like the poinsettias. What do you guys think? Is that what they're called? I think that's what they're called. DJ Edit says we're getting about 1 inch of snow tomorrow. That should look pretty cool, walking around in the city with some snow. Although it did snow on Thanksgiving. Ooh, so everybody, this is the very famous 432 Park Avenue right here. It is one of the very famous buildings on Billionaires Row. Hey, Derek says, Happy New Year, Tom. Always great watching and learning from you. Thank you, Derek. Paul Little says, love the poinsettias during Christmas time. I know, Allie, ice cream truck out in December, crazy. So we are crossing Madison Avenue. Hey, Gabriel Lori's here. Says, Tom, you should walk on the High Line some evening when the sun goes down. I think that would be a pretty good stream. We'll probably do that. Very good suggestion. But this is the New York Palace. Yeah, Young Nation 92 says apparently a lot of those Billionaires Row buildings are empty. That is correct. Speaking of Wall Street, this is one of the most powerful financial institutions in the world, right here at BlackRock. Josie says, how cold are you, Tom? It's not that bad. It's actually not that bad tonight. I think tomorrow should be worse. Helen, thank you so much for all the support. I appreciate it. Hopefully we see you back here soon on another live stream. Hey, Brad says, when do you go back to Miami? I think on the 4th. I think that is when I'm flying back, on the 4th. East 51st Street. Hey, Mark Price. Thank you for the $5 donation. Says, Happy New Year. What is a great ETF in your opinion to invest for 2022? So Mark, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that. I can't give out financial advice, but in my opinion, I think that any ETF that tracks the S&P 500, so for example, the ticker symbol would be VOO, and that is a Vanguard ETF that tracks the S&P 500, so you will get the total S&P 500 market returns. But thank you, Mark, for the support, and happy 2022. So we are looking directly at the Seagram building. This is my favorite building in New York City. Mark says hello from California. Good to see you, Mark. So the reason why I like the Seagram building is because it's built so far away from the street. It's not like all the other buildings in the city that are built, you know, a couple feet away from the street here. The one thing to watch out for with exchange traded funds is Wall Street oftentimes uses them just as a marketing tactic. So a lot of the times they'll slap, you know, some fancy name like the AI technology, machine learning ETF, and charge ridiculous fees. But if you actually look into the ETF, you know, it just owns like Apple and Microsoft. It's just used as marketing tactics. So this is the Seagram building here at Park Avenue and 52nd Street, East 52nd Street. And during the winter, they fill the water fountains filled with beautiful Christmas trees. So I think there's over 50 Christmas trees in each water fountain. I'll show you guys. It's amazing. And these are all real. So they're not plastic Christmas trees. They're all real. And the smell is amazing. Excuse me. And we also have a great view of 432 Park Avenue, which is one of the most expensive apartment buildings in New York City. Somebody says, is it expensive to live in New York City? I would say it depends on where you live. And I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but, you know, for example, if you want to live right here at 432 Park Avenue, it's going to cost you like 50 million bucks just to keep the lights on. But, you know, if you want to get roommates, things like that, or maybe you move to the Lower East Side or the Upper West Side, or even parts of Harlem, it tends to be actually quite affordable. So in the summer, this is a beautiful water fountain, and the sound is amazing. Hey, Shot by Scott is here. Says, Happy New Year, Tom. Happy New Year, Wall Street Skate Bro fam. What's up, Scott? Scott is a very talented photographer from the Miami-Dade County area. Hey, Juan is here. Says, greetings from Puerto Rico. Good to see you. So I'll show you guys the lobby. They don't like filming here, but we'll just do a quick walk around. This is by far my favorite building in the city. Andy says, pretty yellow lights. Patty C64 says, I live in the west side between 7th and 8th Avenue. That's a beautiful neighborhood. So are you in the, what is that, Midtown? Or are you more towards the Upper West Side? Sweet Dream 777 says, these are gorgeous Christmas trees. Yeah, so imagine coming out of the office every day. You're walking out of the office and this is your view. You have a beautiful view of the city. Ron TV says, Tom, do you think the rental costs will increase this year? So I think so. I think rents are going to go up. And this is the very top of 432 the One Vanderbilt building, excuse me. The Agent 3 says, your favorite building was designed. Yeah, that is true. Ooh, Shot by Scott says, is this nicer than the 600 Brickell with the palm trees? Yeesh. I think it does have it beat. I'm going to be honest, I think this has it beat. But it is beautiful nonetheless, both of them. So this is East 53rd Street. And I'll give you guys another view of the 432 Park Avenue right here. Toilet paper matters is what is so special about this particular building. Well, I really like the design because look at how far away it's built from the street. So if you look at the street, it's almost like it's its entire park leading up until the front doors of the office building. And I love the view. That's why it is my favorite building. Hey, D3WU11 says, I love financial districts just as much as you do, Tom. You should come visit Toronto's financial district, especially during Christmas time. We definitely will. I would love to get back to Toronto. Haven't been to Toronto in a long, long time. And then here we could see the MetLife building and the very famous Hemsley building right here as we make our way down Park Avenue. Ah, Patty, that's a very nice area. Nesha Roz says, can't wait to go back to New York City. Sam says, Tom, the door is open for you here. Appreciate that, Sam. Yeah, Toronto is a great city. Toronto is a great city. Very close to New York. So speaking of consulting firms, we were talking about Ernst & Young. Here's another big consulting company, KPMG, which is right here. And I believe the Blackstone is right here. So not to be confused with BlackRock. Georgie says, I love New York's architecture. I love it too, agreed. And I think we're coming up on the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. And I believe the Waldorf Astoria is also building an amazing, beautiful building in downtown Miami, which should be fun to watch being constructed over the next couple of years. So here we are, Blackstone. Pretty cool backdrop with all of the white lights. Hey, Mark says, thank you for pointing things out and giving a brief explanation. No problem. That is a great way to tour, and many others do not do as much of that. Well, thank you for joining, and thank you for the compliment. Appreciate it. Toilet Paper Matters is, why are you not skateboarding anymore? We will be bringing back the skateboarding live streams very, very soon. It's just been very difficult for me to do that over the holidays because I've been traveling a lot for work during the holidays, entertaining clients and things like that. So for the holidays, I was in New York City, I was in Miami, I was in Las Vegas, meeting people now that things are opening back up. So it's been difficult to carry around the skateboard when I'm in my work clothes and things like that. But we will be getting back to our regular scheduled programming very soon. Wow, check out the top of the One Vanderbilt. Looks so iconic to the New York skyline. Patty says, are you an excellent skateboarder? No. We just do it for fun. Hey, Mohammed's here. What's up, Robert Mohammed? Says, hi, Tom, and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, too. Ooh, hey, Disney cast members here. What's up, Disney cast member? Hope everything is going well with your move. So Disney cast member is a fellow Long Islander, a fellow New Yorker. And now she's coming back to New York. Ron TV says, have you ever been to the summit at Vanderbilt? Not yet, but I have watched some other lives that have covered the summit. Action Kid did a great video on that. So these are the new towers at the Waldorf Astoria. Beautiful in here. And we will take a walk past the famous, well, I guess it's not famous, but the Cause statue. And I used to have one of these statues in my office at the Marsh and McLennan building. Stony says, shout out from Brooklyn. Good to see you, Stony. John Willis says, hi, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, John. Good to see you. Blaz says, hey, Tom, from White Plains. White Plains is beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. Just north of the city. Wow, check out this view. We're looking southbound on Park Avenue over the Hemsley building, the MetLife building, and the brand new One Vanderbilt. Jazz says, nice evening. It is a nice evening as we prepare for the snow. A lot of viewers on the stream are saying that we're going to get about an inch of snow tomorrow. So looking forward to that. So everybody, check out this statue here. It is a fan favorite on the stream by Kaws, is the artist. Kaws, I believe, is the spelling. Hey, Aaron, thank you. I think it is good karma to watch Tom's live stream. Thank you for that. So I used to have this in my office, but our statue was black and not purple. Hey, 48 says, hope you stream tomorrow in the snow. We will see. NNB045 says, One Vanderbilt will be seen as our generation's empire. Daniel Miner 0708 says, love the Art Deco design. See, so now it's after New Year's. Things have quieted down a lot. So Park Avenue, there's not a soul here. And I actually kind of like it. And this is going to be JP Morgan's brand new office building that is being constructed right now. Dante Rose says, thanks for the stream, Tom. Stay safe and have a good day tomorrow. Thank you so much. Hey, Patrick is here. What's up, Patrick, New York? Happy New Year. Good to see you. Hope your New Year's off to a good start, Patrick. Lady O says, tomorrow is work day and kids back to school. It's always tough the first day back. You know, waking up in the morning, you're like, oof. Horatio Snipes says, Tom, New York City is so empty. Indeed it is. Teresa says, hi, Tom. Good to see you. Julian says, hey, Tom, greetings from Mexico. Thank you for your live streams. I wish you a healthy and successful 2022. I wish you success. I wish the same for you. Thank you so much. Roy S. says, Tom, quick pit stop at Five Guys. Horatio Snipes says, Tom, can we see Grand Central Terminal? Sure, so Grand Central is directly in front of us. We have to walk directly under the Hemsley building. So we might as well take one lap around Grand Central Station now that we're here. Might as well. Josie says, go to a restaurant. Manuel. How are you, Manuel? Good to see you. Ooh, Lady O says, yep, I gotta make breakfast and pack the lunches. Good luck, Lady O. But you know, after the first or second day, you get right back into the groove. Yeah, sunshine after rain, says Tom, skateboarding and orange juice. We do a lot of both. So here we are, Park Avenue, East 46th Street. Thank you everybody for the time check, 11:15. So I think we're right on time. I think I may make my train. So we'll take a quick walk around the one and only Grand Central just to show you guys. XOXO says, why are you doing this? For fun. Alexandro says, hey Tom, Happy New Year. I'm Alex from Mexico. You have an excellent voice. Thank you so much. Hey, Mark Price, thank you for the $10 donation. I appreciate it very much, Mark. And I'm wishing you a very happy 2022. And thank you for joining the stream. Hey, Patrick Water Vlogs. Good to see you, my friend. You know, I want to show you guys right here. So they totally remodeled the MetLife building inside. And you guys have to see the lobby. The lobby is spit polish clean. It is beautiful in here. And I'll show you right now. It is so beautiful here. And they took down the Christmas wreath, which is unfortunate. Ooh, but everybody, my phone is going to die. I'm on 10% battery. So I guess we'll stream until the phone dies. But tomorrow, we should be doing a stream in the rain. Oh, the snow, hey. We should be doing a stream in the snow. So quiet. Hey everybody, we have Brittany McMurdy here. Says, hey Tom, good evening, super late, but good evening. What's up, Brittany? It's good to see you. I hope you had a great holiday season. It's always good to hear from our pal, Brittany McMurdy. This reminds me of the first Matrix movie. Used to get into Grand Central. Here we are, Grand Central Station. And up here is the Apple store that is actually now closed down due to the Big C. Apple announced after the market closed last week that they will be closing all of their Apple stores for in-store purchases, but you will be able to order online and pick up your goods in the store. So here we are on a very quiet Sunday night at Grand Central. And we will show you the mighty bull on the ceiling. Yeah, EIC says magnificent building. It is very magnificent.
Attention LTA meetings customers. Tickets must be activated.
Yeah, Chris says remember to dress properly tomorrow night. Disney cast members says so beautiful here.
Metro North Railroad.
Yeah, the architecture is beautiful here. Yeah, I see a lot of Korean viewers. Welcome everybody from Korea. We are here at Grand Central Terminal. Marty Lewis says, via the New York Post, Apple reopens New York City stores to limited in-person shoppers after closure backlash. Wow. Thank you for that update. Hey, San Miguel with the $5 donation. Thank you, San Miguel. Says, thanks, Tom. Good night, everybody. Going to bed now. We'll have a great start to the new year. First working week of the new year. Mark Price says, charge your phone. I need more. Well, we do go live 5 days a week. So we will go live about 5 days a week. And everybody, after popular request, we will be putting up a continuous 24-hour live stream loop of skateboarding videos throughout New York City, because I know a lot of people on the channel miss the skateboarding videos. So I'm going to make a 10-hour compilation so everybody could watch them. So that is coming up very soon. Heartland Explorer says, any advice for new college grads trying to get jobs? So I think number one is you should look to get a job in a growing industry. So never enter an industry that is in structural decline. You want to make sure that whatever industry you're going to work in is going to have or experience extreme growth over the course of your career. So for example, working in technology, maybe you're a software engineer, maybe you're a software salesperson. That tends to be very lucrative careers in healthcare, in nursing, things like that. So I would just try to figure out what you're good at, double down on that, and look for industries that are in growth mode. Yeah, Santiago, I'll show it to you. So we usually show it to the viewers every stream. So if you look all the way here, this little dot right there is actually what the color of the ceiling used to be, and that is all cigarette tar from when you were allowed to smoke in the city. And I would say when you're young, when you get your first job, always network. I think networking is the most important thing, especially if you're getting a career in investment banking or in tech. I think networking is the most important. But everybody, before we go, just a quick recap of the stream. The topic for tonight's stream was GDP growth as well as S&P 500 earnings estimates. So many economists call for a GDP in the United States to grow 4.3%. That is down from 5.6% in 2021. But S&P 500 earnings are expected to grow 9% in 2022, well above the 10-year average of 5%, but much slower than the 45% surge we had in 2021. But still good growth nonetheless. Hey, Out and About is here. Somebody says, Tom, can you please put subtitles in Spanish? Ooh, I think that'd be a good idea. We'll try it. We will definitely try it. So here we are outside of Grand Central Terminal as we make our way back to the one and only Penn Station. Hey, Karina Thompson, hope you have a good night. So thank you for joining me this stream. It was a blast. I always look forward to talking to you guys and girls every single night. Teresa, thank you. Photos from around New York, thanks for joining. Pat Waters Vlogs, out and about, sunshine after rain. Ron TV, Alice, thank you so much. And everybody, wishing you a very happy new year in 2022. Make it a good week, and I'll see you all right back here tomorrow as we recap the first trading day of the year. And to the mighty bull, have a good night wherever you are, because there's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the stream, and feel free to subscribe if you are new. And I'm wishing you all much success, and we will see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a good one.